Welcome to Revoicing the Future, a Women of NAM podcast presented by AKG. Just as one revoices a chord, Revoicing the Future creates a completely new perspective on the invaluable notes that make up the whole. It will uplift women's voices in the music products industry, which have earned their time to be the root of the chord. Once a month, you can catch productive and valuable conversations with women working in manufacturing, retail, the nonprofit sector, music education, touring, and overall women who inspire us. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. This podcast is co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Revoicing the Future. I'm your host, Natalie Morrison. Hi, Steph.
Hi.
Happy Women's History Month. Happy belated International Women's Day.
Yeah. As you said, every day is really this, but fun to have an excuse to celebrate.
To celebrate it. Also, this is the first time that we're officially behind the mic since the NAM show.
It is. Wow. What a year.
Thank you to everyone who came out. We really, really loved being able to be up on that Idea Center stage. So huge shout out to Zach and Aaron and the team over at NAM for setting that up for us. And we really hope you guys enjoyed the episode and have been able to continue to enjoy the conversation now that it lives on all streaming platforms. But it was just really awesome to be able to talk to people after that conversation and just hear their thoughts and their feedback and how it impacted them. And I think that's so freaking cool.
Right? Short little tangent. The family, our pals we were just camping with, their little girl is 5. She's in TK. And she's receiving an award for leadership. They do leadership awards every month, a different value that the kids live out. And she's getting an award for listening, basically like the idea of like listening before you then put out your own thing, like being curious and all that. And I was like, what? This is so rad that, as Julia was saying, right? So everybody can be a leader at any level, right? Like, this is so, I don't know, it just reminded me so much of our talk. And I was just like dancing inside of like, wow, that one, love that school. Just public school, look at them go. But how sweet is that, right? Imparting all that. So that's everything, right? We're leaders in all areas of our lives and we can be spreading this to everybody. But
I love it.
Right?
That's awesome. So fitting. The future of leadership.
Literally. Future of leadership. Yep.
Well, if you're listening to this when this episode drops, Women of NAM will be hosting a deep dive on Thursday, March 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific time called Beat Burnout, 5 Key Changes to Address It, Recover from It, and Prevent It with Dr. Lori Schwartz-Reichel. I'm so sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly, but she's the founder of the Confidence Camp for Kids and the Confidence Retreat for Adults. So sign up. Information will be linked in our bio below. All the fun things for Women's History Month.
And we talk about that a little bit in this episode too. So if you didn't get any of that data, you'll get it again because Nat's going to tell it to you in this episode. Double whammy to get it in your brain.
So for this month, because it is such a big month as we advocate for women in music, and we're talking about just women in general, right? We thought that this would be such a fitting episode to spotlight for the month. So Steph, who are we talking to?
Oh, yes. We are talking to Melinda Colaizzi, who is the founder and CEO of Women Who Rock. And she's also the lead singer of Melinda in the Night Sky.
Yes.
Rad rocker gal. So to lead us in, could you tell us the story really quick? Did you meet her at that event with Beth? Like, can you set the stage of us doing this conversation with her? Because it's such like a in the family kind of thing.
Yeah. So a couple months ago, I was invited to attend a Women Who Rock event, and I had the honor of meeting Melinda there, who is the CEO and the founder. And she works really closely with the Magee-Womens Research Institute in Pittsburgh, which is the largest and only institute that researches women's health. So this organization really is a clear partnership on how to kind of spread awareness and raise money for women's health and the research behind everything that goes into and is categorized as women's health. And we felt, one, her story is awesome because it comes from personal passion and personal experience. And 2, we cannot talk about women's health and advocating for ourselves enough, and felt that this would be a really powerful episode to kind of bring to our listeners and really just kind of spread the awareness of the incredible work that they're doing and how you can all get involved as well. So
Yeah.
what better time?
Yeah, she did such a great job of exemplifying in the organization too, right? There's these foundational things like healthcare that we need to have in place before we can even begin to think about excelling as leaders in work, in our careers, et cetera, right? Like these are the building blocks of a good life.
And some crazy statistics too that she shares throughout the episode that really just make your jaw drop and puts things into more of a perspective. When I heard some of these stats for the first time, I stood there just completely in shock. So it's just important. Awareness is important.
Yeah. So with that, let's just dive right into it. You can hear it from Melinda herself.
So sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack, and we will see you next time. Hi, Melinda. Welcome to Revoicing the Future. We're thrilled to have you join us on this Women's History Month episode of Revoicing the Future.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. And this is always our favorite month of the year.
Like we do with every episode, I'd love for you to just kind of give us your journey into music. Where did you start? Where are you today? How did you find your way into this industry?
Winding path. Yeah.
Oh, it's been a very winding path, but I was so lucky. I knew what my calling would be from a very young age. And that started more on just the love of wanting to be a musician. So that really guided my path. I attended Berklee College of Music. And even from the start of this at Berklee, I majored in music business, but I was always active on the performance side. So it was always important to me to blend both of them. And now at this part of my journey, I'm even more understanding of how that has really helped me to create a brand like Women Who Rock. But yeah, I moved to Berklee, graduated from Berklee. When I was there, I was in an all-girl rock band that had like a 2-second record deal. And then after that, moved to Los Angeles and then really started to immerse myself more in the business side. So I worked for big companies like Universal Music, Live Nation Entertainment. But of course, the performance side, where my first passion is, I've never left that along the way. And I still actively perform and record. And that's always going to be part of who I am.
And to this day, you're right, like you said, you're still that performer. How have you balanced that with how your career has moved throughout the years?
Yeah, it definitely hasn't always been easy, but I really think that the balance of the business and being a musician is what has given me one of my greatest skills. Because when I'm working more on the business side of things, like building a company and running a company like Women Who Rock, I also am able to see it from the artist side, right? Because then I can flip to the artist side of my brain and who I am and look at contracts and how I would want to be treated as an artist. So I think that's a really unique mix. And I really am a firm believer that musicians should know the business. Even if you don't want to be in the business per se, you really need to know how to read a contract and how to manage your finances. And I just think it's a really important aspect that I see a lot of musicians say, oh, put that over there. I don't want to be bothered by it. And then get themselves in a really bad partnership or contract. And so it has not always been easy to balance, but I'm very glad that I have both of those sides to what I do.
That's amazing. That kind of leads to, as we're thinking about that, when you were doing both, like the artist side and the kind of in-house business side, I'm curious about like when you got the idea for Women Who Rock and then when you chose to go kind of fully into that like full advocacy realm out of having the day job still right in the corporate side. Like, can you talk to us about that transition point and what that was like and how you knew it was right at all those junctures?
Yeah. Well, it was always the big vision and a dream of mine that Women Who Rock would grow to where we are today, but it started very small. I mean, it started as a one-off benefit concert. We had about 100 people in the room for the first event. But the thing that happened at that first event, it was really twofold, that I knew that we had something that could become a global movement. It was that there was an energy in the room that you just could never replicate. And it really has stayed with us as we've grown and the concerts have gotten bigger. But the other thing is, Women Who Rock is the only organization of its kind that's blending women in music and women's health together in such a unique way. So as the vision started to grow, the concerts got bigger, this really started to spread through larger artists wanting to get involved and larger partners. We're also partnered with Magee-Womens Research Institute, which is the nation's largest research institute dedicated solely to women's health. It felt right. It felt like something was going to happen. This was going to become a movement that would affect a lot more lives than just who was in the room that night. And it has. I don't think necessarily I walked away from the business side.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe a little bit more of the, corporate world per se, but I just I shifted. I shifted to wanting to focus more on impact, and that's what we're doing.
Did you notice any key differences from the corporate side of being a woman in the industry versus the artist side? We talk about the artist experience on the record side of the industry also, and then we also talk about corporate experience for women. So I'm wondering, because you've had your hand in both areas, have you experienced similarities or anything that really stuck out to you specifically?
That's a great question. The one thing that I think really jumps out to me is having to overprove yourself in both sides of it, whether it's the business or the artistry side. And I just think there's been this element of, I don't want to say underrepresented, but it's almost like, can she really do it? Right. And like, even sometimes with Women Who Rock, I'll never forget some of the first early meetings that I had with a couple people. They're like, you're going to take this concert outside of Pittsburgh. You think you're really going to get big name artists that want to come to Pittsburgh for this show? And this is before we had expanded outside of Pittsburgh, but we did exactly that. I mean, we've had some of the biggest names in the world join our movement, from Melissa Etheridge to Jessica Simpson, Sheila E. So it's kind of like, oh, yeah, you don't want to believe in me type thing. I'll show you. So
I love it. Yeah. As we talk about, everybody has imposter syndrome. Of course, when you have everybody saying who do you think you are the whole way? Or I think Florence Given is the gal that says a lot of that, make people say who does she think she is? You're doing something right if people are coming at you with that a lot these days.
Mm-hmm.
So walk us through, how did Women Who Rock get started? And just what is the 90-foot view of the organization for those unfamiliar?
We started from a pure place of passion and personal experience for me. Of course, what we just talked about, my journey through the music industry as both a female-fronted rock singer and guitarist, to also working on the business side of things. That underrepresentation and being treated differently. I mean, when I moved back to Pittsburgh, I'll never forget, I was playing all of these concerts and fundraisers, and so many times I was the only woman on the stage. And I'm like, what's happening here? I mean, I know we're not a major music city, but we have so much incredible talent here that I just wasn't seeing women on the stages. So that was number one, how we can support more women, spotlight them, encourage them, and create a platform and a stage for them. But the other part is very personal. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, and a clinical trial and research saved her life. She had a 5% chance of survival, and she's still alive 15 years later. And I personally have struggled with endometriosis my whole life. I only knew 2 years ago, thanks to Magee, that I had endometriosis all these years. It typically takes a woman 12 years to get a diagnosis because there's no research and there's really not a cure for it. And that's because the research dollars aren't there. So I thought, because women's health is so chronically understudied and underfunded, so I'll just give you a really quick stat. Women were not included in any type of clinical research or trials until 1993. Up until that point, all the research was done on men and applied to our bodies, not taking in consideration weight, height, hormone, imbalances and changes. So that was something that was, I still say this stat and people just don't even believe what I'm saying. So I just thought, what better way could we support women in music, shine a spotlight on them, and at the same time, through these initiatives, raise awareness for the state of women's health research and raise critical funding. So that's how this all started.
It speaks so much to the power of knowing what your passion point is. It's the passion point, women in music industry as a whole. And then you get granular with but my specific way to dig in here and really change things is XYZ. And so that's so beautiful. I think it just speaks so much to the power of knowing your area that you are meant to dig in and impact, because there's so many women music orgs, right? And so there's the two, like in the beginning, and I think you were part of this as well, we're proving the need, we still are proving the need. And then there's like the specific thing getting into it. And I feel like you're also taking that double gauntlet of like proving the need for women's health research in general too, right? It's like going into our just basic well-being outside of just our work.
It so does, because women can't perform without being healthy.
Yeah.
Like we forget about this, right? And then what you were saying, like when you kind of start peeling the layers back, like when I'm backstage at a concert and I see a woman going on stage and she has a baby with her and the baby's, in the dressing room, or she's also balancing breastfeeding on the road and being a mom. And like, there's just so much. And then how women are treated differently in this industry when they are pregnant or after having a baby, that's a whole nother thing. So we always use this stat. Women make up 51% of the population, but we carry 100% of the future. So why women's health research is an afterthought, it just makes no sense.
There was also a stat that I remember at the event that I met you at. Wasn't it like 13 cents to every dollar is invested? Did I get that correct?
You did get that correct. That's what it used to be. But last year, 13 cents rolled down to 7 cents. So now we're going in the opposite direction.
Even more of a reason to have this conversation.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you too that just came to me today. We see this a lot at Backline too, with like mental health in music and just the wellness of this. And it made me think of some of the organizations that we send folks to too when they need things like this. So say anybody that's listening to this in the state that you were in or have been multiple times in your life, if you or someone that you love gets like a really gnarly diagnosis that like, we're in a healthcare field that is hostile to women's health, it's not going to be easy. What is kind of your best advice on how we can advocate? And every diagnosis is going to be different, right? But are there any kind of high level best practices of how to advocate for yourself or your people, depending on any of that come to you of being part of Magee that you've heard about?
Well, the first is not going to be so scientific, but I will tell you, listening to your gut, I think, is such a big deal. If your body is telling you and your voice down inside that something is not right, usually it's not. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, you went into this a little bit, but advocating for yourself. Listen, you can go and you can get second, third, fourth opinions, and that can save your life. I mean, you shouldn't just always think like, oh, a doctor tells me one thing and that's the rule, right? You have to advocate for yourself. And it's definitely harder as a woman to do that.
Yeah. I think we've all had our own experiences in that realm of a doctor not listening to you and telling you that you don't know what you're talking about and kind of like moving that forward. And it's so incredibly frustrating. I agree with a whole trusting your gut thing. You know your body way more than anybody else does. So if you sense something is wrong, and if you're getting an answer that you don't like, go find another answer or go down other routes. I started going to see like a naturopathic doctor just because from the experiences that I've had of other friends who go to see those doctors, they actually take the time to listen to you. And I've never felt more validated in my life when I went to a doctor like that. It helped me feel more confident in knowing that my body is telling me what it needs to tell me if something is wrong, right? So I really loved that. It's not a scientific answer, but it is an answer, right? Of like, really, you have to trust your gut. And I know so many other women in the industry also who have like gone through their own diagnoses of various things, and they trusted their gut when they realized that something was wrong.
And another thing I think that is really important is, especially right now in this day and age, please be very careful where you're getting your medical information from.
Yeah.
I'm also a professor here in Pittsburgh, and I have so many of my young students that will share with me, I'm learning about women's health through TikTok. And I'm just like, what? I'm sure that there are trusted doctors that are sharing great information on social media. So I don't want to make it sound like it's all bad, but there's also some really crazy disinformation out there. So just get your information from a trusted source.
Yeah, make sure they are a trusted doctor if you're learning from them too on socials, right? For sure. Oh gosh. And one thing that comes to me too, that I did a paper on this a couple of years ago, and I noticed how y'all highlight on your website too. One, the maternal mortality rate, childbirth, is still horrible and gnarly. So if anybody listening didn't know that, now you do. That sucks. So with that, and there was research that was finding too, which I'm sure you know this too, how much higher it is for Black women. And so the research I was finding was that if you can, and for this goes for pretty much anything, like well, probably birth and then end of life as well. If you can get help and have a doula, that helps like have an advocate in the room for all these things, like really help your chance. If you have an advocate in there for you in general, that can be really helpful too. So if anybody's listening and that is something you can access or find an organization like Family Alliance and Music Rocks, see the other organizations that are making this more accessible. That's another thing that is key too.
Yeah.
It's such an important thing. Yeah. We can't do any of this if we aren't healthy to show up and do the dang thing.
So talk about your partnership with Magee-Womens Research Institute. I know that when you talked about your personal story with your mom and then you specifically, was that through Magee and how you discovered them? Like, how did the partnership really kind of come to be?
We have been partners with them for going on 7 years now. So they have been a very important part of this. And what this has been able to do for them is be their voice. I mean, we have definitely raised critical dollars, but what happens is their research is so expansive. So, it's not just breast cancer, not just ovarian cancer. It literally is every area of women's health. And when we're talking about research, of course, it comes through very scientific. So it can be fearful to people. It can be over people's head. But when you put it through the megaphone of music, that's when the electricity happens, right? That's where that Women Who Rock lightning bolt just spreads that mission and that movement so beautifully. And of course, all of the artists that become part of this movement or perform in our concert, their voices and platform also helps amplify their work. So it really has been able to give them a voice in a way nothing else has. They are in Pittsburgh, which a lot of people don't know, but they're the nation's first and largest. So that was a really special connection because that's our hometown. And yes, my mom's cancer wasn't women specific. So it wasn't 100% tied to their research, but it is part of a higher medical system that they are part of. So it very much worked closely together. And I think the thing about my mom's experience and my experience was it just showed me some of these stats that so many people, especially women, just don't realize how understudied and funded women's health still is to this day. So it's been a very special partnership. Their research just continues to make global impact in terms of, like I mentioned, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, infertility. You mentioned maternal mortality, very much doing studies, some specific to find out why are Black women dying at 2 to 3 times the rate of white women. We have to make them a household name. And my hope is, and kind of the long vision of all of this is, we just can raise so much money for women's health research and just continue to take this movement everywhere that we possibly can.
It's incredible work. And they're also lobbying, right, in DC as well to help with some of this, right?
Yeah, because the federal cuts are very scary and they are impacting areas of women's health research that I think are just misunderstood. I think sometimes people hear the term women's health and they automatically make it political. But what is so political about cancer research, So I think that is part of this, is to better educate too.
Yeah, on that, can you walk us through in this current moment in time, like for someone that's like really passionate about this, wanting to get involved, what is kind of the ecosystem looking like in terms of, you mentioned federal cuts, like what is happening? And I guess what are ways people can get involved if they're passionate about trying to advocate for that on the government side?
Yeah, I think donating directly to help women's health research is so important because a lot of these federal cuts are having impact. Like one of Magee's grants, Natalie, I don't know if you remember, it was in the presentation that night, but it was directly tied to federal funds, and it was a $25 million grant that got taken away out of nowhere this time last year. And that caused a whole lab to be shut down. So these are serious implications. I think also just like the power of social media. We really, through Women Who Rock social channel, yes, you'll see a lot of really fun stuff and coverage from our events and music content, but we also are very much putting these stats and what's happening out there in real time. So sharing that is very important because, again, we cannot make progress until the awareness is made.
How have you seen the conversation within the music industry kind of change and shift as Women Who Rock have been putting on these benefit concerts and raising money and all of that.
I do think people are talking about it more, for sure. And I think they're relating to it through music, which makes it an easier conversation. I think the industry as a general has done a great job at bringing mental health to the forefront. So I think that's also making it easier for people to talk about it and to not feel shameful for things of that nature. So I think that's been a great, great point of progress.
Yeah, and how much everything is tied to mental health. Like you can't be mentally healthy if something is wrong with your body kind of thing. So it does all kind of spider from there. I love that. More to go, but it continues.
Yes. As you're looking to the future, obviously with kind of the state of the world, as we've talked about, what do you hope to see for women in music and the conversation around women's health and investing in resources for women in the industry to feel supported and like truly make a difference?
When I started this 8 years ago, it was right around the time the very first Annenberg study came out. And I think since that study and organizations like Women Who Rock that have really worked to address some of those issues, I do think we are making progress. We have not made enough progress, but I do think that there are organizations that are really stepping up and taking ownership of making this more of an even playing field. I hope that the health side also starts to see that. I do still think sometimes with artists, once they personally can connect to it, it's so powerful. But I just would hope that they understand the power that they have in their platform to really help make a difference for an issue like women's health research.
Yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned the Annenberg study. That I feel like was a catalyst for
Absolutely.
So many things. Also, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago too, when Lady Gaga spoke at the Grammys. I know you were in the room for that.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of 7 years ago when the head of the Grammys made his infamous comment. I think that was also a catalyst too. And thinking about the timeline, those two things happened right around the same time. So it's interesting to kind of see how two experiences really just kind of pushed open the industry to start really having these conversations, and for these organizations to advocate for women in music just spilled out into the ecosystem. It's fascinating to me. I wonder if another study will come out now that's been 7 or 8 years. It's been percolating in my head recently.
Yeah, I wonder what the timeline or the over-under, right? Because Corny Academy did Women in the Mix a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they did.
And then the USC one does little bits every year or something too. Not every year, but
yeah. I don't know if it's yearly, but I've definitely seen some updates for sure.
I've seen updates.
Yeah. I like how you're talking about that, Nat, too, right? That reminds me too of like Chapel Rowan last year talking about artists needing healthcare, and then we at Backline had the year that we did, which was so wonderful, right? So it is so tied to the education and the amplification, as you talk about the electricity of it, right? The lightning, like we need these moments to get that charge to actually have people know these things are happening, and that the arts is such a way to do that. Like that's the way to do it. It feels like.
After the benefit that you did for the 100 people in the room, what was your first like massive event? Was Melissa Etheridge your first artist or no?
She was one that we had been wanting to work with for a very long time. And finally, the timing worked out 2 years ago. But when we made the shift to a new venue that was like 5 times as big as the Hard Rock in Pittsburgh, where we launched this, it was Sheila E. And, you know, for me, when I thought about who is a woman who rocks, that has been somebody that has, you know, just broken all the molds and just said, I don't care, I'm going to rock out on the drums with my 5-inch heels, right? I just thought she would be somebody that would be deeply into this cause. And she did. I mean, she flew to Pittsburgh. All the artists, actually, we take them into the Research Institute.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so incredible, you know, because I think sometimes it's such a unique experience. I don't think people realize just how powerful. I mean, I've had people walk out in tears. I've had people walk out and say, I'm here for you, whatever you need for me to do. Because the other thing about it, these researchers are dedicating their lives. I mean, they're there 24/7 finding the cures of tomorrow. And the other really cool thing is if there is something personal, like someone's a breast cancer survivor or there's an area of women's health that is personal to them, we can really tailor the tour of the labs and hook them up with the right researchers. So we really hope we're also helping to make an impact in their lives too. But when Sheila came in and spent some time and met us, she did a meet and greet at one of the smaller shows. And after that, she said, I'm in. I want to bring my whole band back here and I want to do this. And she did. And look, all these years later, I mean, Natalie, when we did our great advocacy event at the Gibson, showroom in Los Angeles, she showed up that night and she did. Continuously showed up. So she's been just someone that's also been so kind to me and a mentor to me. So that was the first one. And then from there, it was Jordan Sparks and Ann Wilson of Heart, which was incredible, Melissa Etheridge, Jessica Simpson. So our list, we've been so lucky to have these incredible artists take our stages.
Can you talk a little bit about the Gibson Gibbs partnership and how that came to be? How did you get connected to Beth?
So Beth and I worked in Los Angeles for the same organization. And we had met very early on in our careers and always kept in touch. And I was in Los Angeles right around the time after I launched Women Who Rock, and I reconnected with Beth. And I had told her the importance of the work that we were doing and the bigger vision for this. And she just got it right away. And she has just been not only such a dear friend, but the heart and soul of that Gibson brand. And they have believed in this from the start. They have been the most incredible partners. I mean, they're family. And they also have really had that voice to be able to help grow this and amplify it and connect us with fantastic artists. So we have some really exciting things in the work with them. You're kind of the first to know. We're working on a revamped apparel collection, Women Who Rock and Gibson, and it is going to be incredible. So that'll be launching later this year. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, they have deeply cared so much.
This is so funny. I didn't tell you this stuff, but I realized, and then I never confirmed it with you, Melinda, but we interviewed Krista Gilly. She used to work for Gibson. A couple of years ago, we interviewed her and she was leading I think she was like the head of brand or something. As a thank you for us interviewing her and telling her story, she sent me a package of swag. And the swag, I still have it in my closet, is the Women Who Rock baseball
Get out of here.
cap. And I was like, this is so cool. And I now have this hat. And then when I was at this event, I realized, oh my God, wait, it all connected. Like it never connected in that moment until like I realized that in there. So I love the fact that you're revamping the apparel. That's awesome. It's such a cool hat. I love it.
Well, we do have a hat in the new collection. It's different than the one you have. So you'll have the original. That is the original collection. That's very special. You have that.
I love it. Gals supporting gals, right? Spreading the message along. That's so sweet.
I know, small world. You never really know.
Well, and on that, right, with what's coming up, is there anything specific right now, like passion point wise, project wise, anything that you're like, I really need people to know this is happening versus say like some research thing or something y'all are working on that you can talk about, right? Like moment for a soapbox, like whatever you would want to take, like please do.
Well, that's a big question.
I know.
Well, we will definitely be announcing the 2026 benefit concert soon. So stay tuned for that. The apparel launch is a big thing that we're working on for sure. We do have a couple of things I can't talk just yet, but they will be more of a national play and presence as well. Yes.
Yay.
So follow everyone on social just to keep in the know and stay tuned for updates. I love it. I always love to ask this. Do you have any advice for women in the industry, especially as someone who started their own business and built something from the ground up based on your own passions? What advice do you have for anyone who may be interested in following suit?
Don't let anybody tell you no, and work really, really hard. You can't do this without having an incredible work ethic. And those would be my 2 words of advice.
What keeps you working hard? Like, what is it that fuels you as a giver? We've been thinking about this a lot, right? As people that serve, how do you get filled back up? Where does that energy come from for you?
I'll give you a quick example. When I was at the Grammys a couple weeks ago, I was at the Women in the Mix event and I rocked our Support Women in Music t-shirt. And somebody ran up to me right away and they were like, oh my gosh, I love your t-shirt. That's Women Who Rock, right? And that was just like a moment that it was like the brand recognition, right? And this is resonating with people. So that was a moment of pride. And then also when we have women that feel very comfortable about sharing their stories and journeys with us. I've had so many women say to me that lightning bolt gives them power, right? It's not fear. It's not people telling them that they don't have any hope after they get a diagnosis. It's giving them pure empowerment and strength and saying, yes, I can do this. I can survive this. I can overcome this next obstacle. So those kind of stories keep me going too.
Beautiful.
It's kind of that reassuring, like, aha, like, yes. And I love hearing that other women are coming up to you and telling their own health journey story. I think that makes it even more powerful.
Yeah. How about you all? What's happening in March?
Women of NAM is hosting their virtual education discussion series on March 12th, which is 2 days after this comes out, called Beat Burnout, 5 Key Changes to Address It, Recover from It, and Prevent It. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and it's with Dr. Lori Schwartz-Reichel. I'm so sorry if I butchered your last name. And she's the founder of the Confidence Camp for Kids and the Confidence Retreat for Adults. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah, very relevant.
So that's what Women of NAM has coming up, which is exciting. So if you're interested, there'll be details sent out. And then, follow the Women of NAM socials as well.
Oh, and for another side thing that I have been wanting to shout from the rooftops, more on the health side, we just launched a crisis hotline at Backline for the music industry. So everybody know that is a thing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, right. If anybody needs it, put it on your phone, share it with your people. Their operators are trained. We've trained them in music industry, everything. So they'll know where you're at if you are on tour or on the road or even just at home. But so you can call 855-BEELINE-99 or text 254-639 and someone will help you. So just want everybody to know that exists now. And that has been a project I've been excited to be part of, which similarly, right? Like that connection is like when you're like, this is real. This is a thing that we are doing. I think it's this is real. This is now tangible. It's so fulfilling when you're like giving and giving and giving, but knowing that, that's fun. I like how you phrased that.
It's also interesting and cool to have conversations with other service-minded individuals, right? Like Steph and I have been talking about the whole, like, you're a giver aspect in your career. Mm-hmm. So I love having these conversations, just kind of understanding everyone else's mindset on how they give back. They kind of play it forward in many different ways. So thank you for just
as they do.
All that you're doing for women's health and women in music. It's just absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much.
And before we go, we have my one fun final question. Who is Melinda outside of Women Who Rock, outside of music in general? What fills you up? What brings you joy when you are not working?
Well, that's hard because I work constantly now, but
or an aspect that feels more like joyful fun rather than work, maybe.
I still, of course, writing and playing music and recording music, that still brings me so much joy. And on the apparel side of what we do, I don't design the apparel per se, but I'm very heavily involved with like the concepts and the overall vision of the apparel. And I love that. I mean, even though it is work, I love fashion. So that is a very fun thing for me to do as well. And I love my animals and my husband and all those things.
What animals do you have? What are your animals?
I have a rescued black cat. His name is Prince. And I have a 15-year-old Yorkie. Her name's Chica.
Yay. And we see you too, husband. Yay. Yay. We're like, tell us about your animals.
I love it. Well, Melinda, thank you so much for joining us, for telling your story, for telling the Women Who Rock story and the Magee-Womens Research Institute story. I'm just so grateful for all the work that you're doing and for spreading this important message to get more awareness and advocate for women in general. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. We can't do what we do and make our impact and share our story without voices and platforms like you're giving women. So right back at you. Thank you.
Onward together.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Revoicing the Future. You can subscribe to the podcast on all major streaming platforms or visit our website. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Women of NAM. This episode was co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. See you next time.